if you wouldn't mind just raising your hand on the control panel to the right of your screen just to let me, okay, thank you all. I appreciate that. So today we're going to start off the presentation just going over a few items that have been in my question and answer sessions or question and answers from my daily calls. So most of you have completed the marketplace certification, and if you've not, that is something that is required if you want to sell individual and group health within the shop or the individually federally facilitated marketplace. Boy, try to say that early in the morning. We only have one certification session left, which is September 23rd. So if you do feel that you need support in logging into the system and choosing the correct modules, then I would encourage you to read the Healthcare Reform Essentials newsletter that is going out today and register, because that class is almost full. I will plan more if necessary, but as you can imagine, things are going to be getting pretty busy here towards 10-1, or the closer we get to 10-1. Once you're done completing your modules, and I would suggest that all of you that have not taken the modules yet or the testing yet do the individual and shop marketplace curriculum, because, again, that would certify you to sell individual and group within the exchanges. But if you've completed that 48 hours after you complete the curriculum and pass the test, then you must go to portal.cms.gov for an additional registration and identity proofing. Now, I can tell you that this site has been up and down. It's kind of a nightmare. There's little secret codes to even get in the system. But again, in my HCR Essentials newsletter today, I'm going to once again include the PowerPoint, which will give instructions not only for the registration, registration on the Portal CMS Gov site, but it will walk you through all of the certification requirements. So that's about all there is on to catch up on the marketplace certification. We did not have our annual or our weekly conference call last week because we had our leaders conference in Hershey, and a few takeaways from that. We did have Health America and Capital and Highmark doing breakaway sessions at the meeting, and a couple things that I took away from each of the sessions. And again, I'm going to be getting this information out on all of the sessions, the questions and answers, and including a PowerPoint. So I'm working on that actually now. Health America mentioned that their private exchange is definitely going to be up and ready for 10-1 enrollments into the, outside the federally facilitated marketplace. And, that might sound like not a big deal, but because of all these system requirements and the way the systems have to work, I would say that's quite a feat, and they certainly were happy to announce that. Also, many of you know that Aetna acquired Coventry Health, and what they told us during these meetings is that Health America One and Aetna will be participating in the individual marketplace, both inside and outside. However, Aetna is going to only be available for sale inside and outside the marketplace in 7 counties, and those are the 5-county Philadelphia area counties, and then Lehigh and Northampton. Health America One will be for sale in all other counties in Pennsylvania. So that's definitely important to know as you're moving towards your conclusion of sales in 2013. Cat Blue Cross was also participating. They mentioned that they will be having a health savings account compliant plan, but that is going to be offered off the exchange only. They will not have an HSA compliant plan within the federally facilitated marketplace. Another thing that they mentioned, which should encourage most of you, and what I've been telling most of you that have been calling in, is that they did mention, it's not in writing, but they did mention that as far as commissions for 2014 products, when they filed their plans, their goal was to keep the amount of commission that you receive per sale comparable to what you are getting now. So I think that's definitely encouraging. And then Highmark shared more details than the other two, Health America or Capital, on their product plans for 2014. They did present with a PowerPoint. I'm not able to release that, but I'm going to try to get the information out there as much as I can without violating Highmark's wishes on not getting that PowerPoint out to everyone. So I thought that was some good information and again, if you attended, you know that it was great information. Next item on our agenda is the Department of Labor notices that are required to go out to all employees, whether an employer offers coverage or not. They must be delivered either electronically or through the mail system to each employee, whether they're part-time or full-time. There are separate notices for those employers offering coverage and those employers not offering coverage. We've sent the DOL notices out several times, but if you have not received those, you can contact John Reel, and he can get those out to you. If you have questions on whether you should be sending them out or not, then I would also direct your questions to John on the DOL notices. Just so you know, too, there's if an employer does not provide those, and remember, you are that employer's consultant, so it is your responsibility to let these employers know that they have to get these notices out. And quite frankly, it's a great marketing opportunity for you to touch base with them, talk about their early renewal options, and then also provide that service of keeping them abreast of everything. But if there's been a bit of confusion as to what happens if an employer is not compliant, and there is information that out there on the fines that an employer would incur if they do not provide the DOL notices, and it is $100 per day per occurrence. Now, I can tell you that I just received something this morning saying that DOL will more than likely not, go after anybody for not supplying them. But you know what? I would say better safe than sorry. Again, I'll have some more information on that probably in next week's HCR Essentials newsletter, but at this point, I'm just letting you know what I've received so far. And you can see that if the fines actually are going to be adhered to, that it could be pretty expensive for any employer. Some of the questions, we talked a little bit last week about the group renewals and the options for early renewals, and the deadline is coming down for your groups to make that decision of renewing on an early renewal with a 12/1 effective date or not. And you only have half of the picture, of course, because the rates for the shop and the group, the PPACA group compliant. PPACA compliant group programs, haven't been released yet. But I would say that if your group is anticipating doing an early renewal, that they need to do that. And once 10/1 rolls around, then we would be able to at least give you the second part of the story, which is what their rates would be if they would enroll 1/1 on a PPACA compliant plan, whether in the shop or outside. So again, this is all information that's going to be available to us in 18 short days, or hopefully sooner. But on the individual, I've been getting a lot of questions because the individual health plans are, being sold now are pretty safe. And just to go through some of the carriers, Cap Blue Cross, if you have a client currently on Capital Blue Cross or are writing them up until 12/6 for a 12/15 effective date this year, then those people that are insured with capital will have a deductible reset in January, and they are able to keep that current plan, non-PPACA compliant plan, with the current rates except for whatever age band they would increase in January. They could keep that plan until November 30th of 2014. So again, it kind of gives those people insured with capital some certainty. So go ahead and continue your sales. For Highmark Central and Highmark Western, they will keep their current rates. They just actually filed for rates for 12/1, but they'll keep their current rates, bump up the rate increases that were just filed and approved 12/1, and they can keep their current plan until 12/31 of 2014. I'm going to be getting a chart out, so if you're taking copious notes, there's no need to. I'll get a chart out to you. But essentially, they will have a deductible reset on their 12-month anniversary, but the current plans, if you sell an Advanced Blue, PPO Blue, etc., will be able to stay in force until December 31st of 2014. Health America, one, is encouraging, as with Aetna, encouraging that if you want to have an early renewal, you actually rewrite. And if you don't rewrite with an early renewal for a 12/1, then upon their 12th anniversary, then they will have to go to a PPACA compliant plan. And there's a few other ones, a few other carriers, but I wanted to at least hit on the 4 major carriers for you. I don't have information at this point about what Geisinger is doing, UPMC. I don't know what IBX is doing. Assurance, of course, we know that they will have a deductible reset, and they can keep those plans through most of 2014. And I don't know what United Healthcare is doing. Blue Cross of Northeastern PA is doing all plan resets 12/31 with the current rates and just resetting the deductibles. So again, I know that I went through that quickly, but I'll get a chart out to you. So plans, commissions, and training. Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Plan designs should have been stamped yesterday, and hopefully the carriers will release these now that the contracts have been signed, but at this point there is nothing available. Absolutely, when I get information on the plan designs, I will get that out to you. I am planning on having product training webinars, and I'm planning on having process training webinars so that you know, not only know what you're selling, but know how to sell it and how to submit it. Commissions, again, we have very little information other than to have carriers tell me that they're trying to keep you as whole as possible without taking the dump that they did in 2011. And again, I mentioned the training. There is some training that I'm mentioning in the HCR newsletter today, and Capital is having training the 16th and 17th in Grantville, and that information will be in the newsletter. I did have some submitted questions. Some of them are common questions, others are not. One question was talking about tax credits and subsidies and the charts. I'm going to be getting out the estimated 2013-14 federal poverty level guidance so that you know that anybody between 100 and 400% would be at least subsidy eligible, and then also anyone below 250% would also be cost sharing eligible. So I'm going to try to get that out to you so that you at least have some sort of guidance. There was a question about paper applications if the marketplace is down, and that's a valid question considering all the issues that we've had not only with the Marketplace Learning Network site and the Portal CMS Gov site. Paper applications will be on our website, as they always are. Not only will we have the PPACA compliant carrier-specific individual and group applications on our website for any sales outside the exchange, but we'll have the health insurance marketplace applications available to you as well.
Okay, thanks.
There was a question about the inception dates of submitted business, and I will try to get that information out to you. Essentially, anything sold from 10/1 of 2013 through 12/15 of 2013 will be eligible for a 1/1/2014 effective date. Anything after the 15th of the month defaults to the 1st of the following month. So again, if you're selling up through 3/31 of 2014, if you sell somebody on the 31st of March, the only eligible effective date will be May 1st of 2014. But again, all that information will be coming out. And those are the questions that I had submitted. I'm going to open it up for the open forum. I encourage you to ask any question, and I know some people have expressed that they're a little embarrassed about some of the questions because they feel that it's basic, but I'm telling you there's very little information out there, and there's no basic question that is too simple. And again, we can all learn from each other because we're going to sink or swim together. So I am going to open it up for questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and I will unmute you, and you can ask your question. Don't be shy, people. Thank you. Somebody has a question. Let's see here. Let's see here. Looks like. Okay, I'm going to open it up for Michelle. Michelle, can you hear me? Michelle?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
What's your question?
Well, it's in regards to the group renewal for a spouse to be eligible on the individual exchange. I looked at the IRS regulations, and all it said was that it can't be, if it's unaffordable, then the spouse would be eligible for a subsidy on the individual level. So my group business owner's question is, he wants to protect the spouses. So even though he's not getting a penalty, he doesn't want to make it unaffordable where they could actually pay less on the individual exchange if they're eligible for a subsidy for his low blue-collar workers. Could you give some insight or guidance on that?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I've been getting that quite a bit, and I'm gonna put you back on mute so it doesn't repeat. Give me 1 second here. There we go. The affordability measures are specific to the employee's portion of the premium. So two things. If it passes the affordability measures, then that means that the employer is not charging the employee for that employee's single premium more than 9.5% of his or her W-2 income. For the spouse to be eligible to waive off of the group health plan and go to the individual exchange and claim any subsidy, the employer would either have to not file or not meet the affordability factors for the employee's premium, or not offer spousal coverage at all. So if it's affordable to the employee and meets the guidelines for the 9.5%, and the spouse is offered coverage under that plan, even if the employee has to pay 100% of that premium, then the spouse cannot waive off and get a subsidy. They can waive off, just not claim a subsidy. And if the employer in this particular group, Michelle, says that they are, some lower income, then he may want to, he or she may want to consider not offering spousal coverage, and that would be the solution. You know, again, it's hard to say now without everything, all the rates, but at this point, that's what we're looking for. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I have any more questions. All right, Dawn Hauser, I'm going to open up the mic. Dawn, do you have a question? Dawn? All right. Looks like he's done. All right. Looks like that is all the submitted questions or the hand raised questions. Let me get into the submitted questions and go through those. There was a question about where the best place is to find a subsidy calculator, and that is, there's one on the Kaiser Foundation, Family Foundation. I will get that link out to you, but you could go to Kaiser, or just Google Kaiser Family Foundation subsidy calculator, and I think that you'll be able to find that pretty quickly. But again, I'll get that to you. There was a question about completing anything to sell within the shop marketplace, and yes, the only thing required at this point for 2014 sales for group health within the exchange is the shop agreement. Another question, must you be certified for each and every company, or does CMS have one certification for all companies? And that's a great question. At this point, this year, there is no carrier-specific required certification. So that should at least ease everybody's mind. There was a question from Tracy, for all recent policies written February 2013 with Health America, do you have to rewrite the policy to lock in for 2014? And yes, that is my understanding. From Health America, all plans will remain in effect until their anniversary renewal, at which time they will have to choose a PPACA plan on or off the exchange. They can, of course, rewrite their current plan with a 12/1 through 12/31/13 effective date to buy some time. So, yes, that's correct, Tracy. They would have to rewrite to lock in. Question from Scott. Do you see or anticipate seeing a lot of employers changing to not offering spousal coverage in light of question just answered? And yes, I do think that that's a consideration, definitely. And spouses have always been a bit of a tricky situation, because the employer certainly can at least physically see if anything is an issue with an employee that they're hiring, but they have no clue what they're getting with a spouse, which is always, you know, again, a question when it goes through medical underwriting. So I think because of the subsidies being available for a spouse, if they're not offering coverage, then it's definitely a possibility, and you're going to see more and more of that. There's a question from Rosalie. This is a marketing question. Does it make sense to certify for the exchange if you only deal with individuals that do not qualify for the subsidy or tax credit? And I would say that if you knew, if we had a crystal ball, then I wouldn't put yourself through the torture of these modules. But because if you look at the federal poverty guidelines, or at least the estimated, a single person can make up to about $45,000 and qualify for some level of subsidy. In a family of four, it's estimated to be about $93,000 per year for a family of four. So it is a large chunk of middle America. So I would say, since there's no cost, and since it can be done either through a support session at URL or on your own, that it is definitely worth doing, because you just don't know what you're going to get. And another question about the wonderful portal.cm or the marketplace site, and has anyone else had trouble printing off the completion certificates? Scott, I can tell you everyone has had trouble printing them off. So if you need, oh, I'm not sure how that happened. Somebody's not unmuted, but I apologize for that. Yeah, if you want to give us a call, Scott, we can try to help you through that. Another question, if one spouse of a couple is covered under Medicare, but the spouse is not because they are under age 65, can these spouses get a subsidy on the individual exchange? I'm not sure that I understand your question. Oh, I see. The employer would be, or the employee would be using his or her plan as basically a supplement, or it would be primary. You know, Brent, it all goes back to whether the employer offers coverage to the spouse or not. So that's really the key, and it's as simple as that. There's a question from Michelle. She says she's seen this both ways. Can someone still get a premium rate increase due to health, or is it just based on age, county? It is based on age, county, and the only rate increase that can be incurred above the 3-to-1 rating ratio is for tobacco, and that's it. There's a question from Peyton saying rewriting equals re-underwriting, correct? And typically, yes, but I know that Aetna is allowing an insured to take an early renewal, reset their deductible just by filling out a form or making a phone call. And Michelle says, so they can get a 3-1 if they have MS and are age 30. Yeah, they can. Health history is not even in question. There are no health questions on the application except for the, you know, the tobacco use. And there's another question by Scott, and absolutely, Scott, I'm available, and to all of you, I'm definitely available for any questions if you want to take them offline, either by giving me a call or shooting me an email. I'm always happy to do that. Hopefully you guys know that by now. As we get closer to 10/1, it may be a little bit more difficult getting in touch with me, but I promise you I always return my calls, always return my emails. So, another question, so an insured cannot get a 300% increase just because they have multiple sclerosis? Absolutely not. No rating is allowed due to medical conditions other than tobacco use. They can get up to a 50% increase for tobacco use, nothing for health. That's either on the exchange or off. If the carriers, another question, if the carriers are renewing by phone, do the brokers still get credit for it? My understanding is yes, with all carriers, if they're doing that and there is an agent tied to that application, then yes, you will still be tied to that application. And that looks like all of the questions for this week. Remember that these are offered weekly, and obviously as time moves on, we'll be getting more and more detailed in our questions. I will continue to offer these every Thursday at 9:30 for as long as you see a need for it and as long as I have people signing up. So the next session is Thursday at 9:30, September 19th. So go ahead and sign up when you get that in the HCR newsletter today. And again, call me with any questions or shoot me an email. Thank you all for your participation. Hopefully it stops raining like crazy and we can go out and at least enjoy part of the day. Thank you again, and have a great day.